Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of your Wrestling Highlights of the Week, presented by My Two Cents Podcast, hosted by G2. I am G2, and now usually on this episode, I'll be talking about everything that happened in the world of professional wrestling that you saw on your television screens, from things that happened on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW Dynamite, TNA, all that stuff, right? But since we're at the end of the year, literally, this is the last episode of your Wrestling Highlights of the Week of 2024. I'm going to talk about everything that happened in the world of professional wrestling on WWE, TNA, AEW. This is my year-end recap. I'll be talking about things that I liked and disliked, or I will say constructive criticism from the things that I saw in WWE, AEW, and TNA. And always at the end of this yearly episode that I've done since I want to say 2021, since I started, doing it. I usually give out my year-end awards to wrestlers in these categories, and you'll hear the categories when I break it down to you. So, without further ado, before I give my recap of what I saw this year in wrestling, I want to go off into AEW's World's End predictions, since tonight is their World's End pay-per-view. So, I'd rather just start off with that. So, first thing foremost, I want to start off with the Continental Classic. We have now been confirmed that it will be Will Ospreay and Ricochet representing the Gold League bracket, and Kyle Fletcher and Kazuchika Okada representing the Blue League bracket, because Kyle Fletcher, he has 12 points, and Okada, he has 10 points for the Blue League, while Ricochet has 10 points and Will Ospreay has 9 points in the Gold League. Now, if you watch AEW Dynamite, they did explain that while Ricochet and Claudio Castagnoli both have 9 points, Will Ospreay is going into this semifinals instead of Claudio, because when they went head-to-head with one another, Will Ospreay defeated Claudio Castagnoli. So that's the only reason why Claudio is not in this. So, with that being said, in these semifinals, we have Will Ospreay going against Kyle Fletcher, and we have Okada going against Ricochet. Now, we already had Will Ospreay going against Kyle Fletcher at the last AEW pay-per-view, Full Gear, and they gave it to Kyle Fletcher because that was his coming out party as a official up-and-coming singles competitor, like you really need to pay attention to. And throughout this Continental Classic, Kyle Fletcher showed you again that AEW made the right choice to really put some eggs in his basket to really put the spotlight onto Kyle Fletcher. But in this match right here, Will Ospreay is winning this. Will Ospreay is going to get his win back over Kyle Fletcher from last month's Full Gear pay-per-view, and he's going to beat Fletcher, essentially. So Will Ospreay will be going to the finals, and he'll be meeting, in my personal opinion, he'll be meeting Okada. Okada is going to defeat Ricochet. Ricochet is more than likely going to have a good showing with Okada, let's not get it twisted, but I don't see them having Okada, who this is his first official year over here in AEW. Yeah, because he did come over here in AEW this earlier this year. God, it's been that quick. And this is his first official year, and I don't see them having him lose to Ricochet, at least right here. I can see him doing it next year whenever they build Ricochet up more. But right now, no. Okada is going to take this over Ricochet. And in the finals, we'll see Okada and Will Ospreay. Now, that's the match that people will be waiting to see. And for me, it'll be the champion defending his title against the guy that's trying to take it from him. Okada being the Continental Classic champion. Will Ospreay being the guy going after it right now because of the tournament. I see, because both of them are going to be tired, I can see how they give this win over to... I'm going to go with Okada here. I'm going to go with Okada, if I'm going to be honest. I have a feeling we're going to keep it with Okada, because I have a feeling Kenny Omega is going to be coming back, because he has a match over in Japan on January the 5th. And after that's done, I have a feeling we're going to see either Okada pop out on the stage there to get face-to-face with Kenny at that event, or we're going to see them start the program up on a upcoming episode of Dynamite with Okada retaining the title, saying he's the best tournament wrestler of all time, yada, yada, yada. He's the best bout machine, and then that will enter Kenny Omega. So I think this is the move they're going to go. Okada is going to retain his Continental Classic Championship, and he's going to start into a business thing with Kenny Omega. That's my opinion on that. The AEW Dynamite Diamond Ring, MJF, the ring holder, going against Adam Cole. I want Adam Cole to win this because I'm tired of seeing MJF with that ring. I want to see what MJF can do without the ring, and we kind of got a glimpse of that whenever he was wrestling in 2023. He didn't really use the ring that much, but I would like to see what his character will be like without that Dynamite Diamond Ring, what that character is of MJF without the Dynamite Diamond Ring, what type of shenanigans and debauchery he can do without that ring. And I just want to see that ring gone at the moment, or at least another person hold the ring, because I'm tired of seeing MJF hold it, to be honest. So Adam Cole taking that away from MJF, like he helped take the world title away from MJF last year at Worlds End, I think it'll be fitting, but that's all if they want to do it. So I'm going with Adam Cole personally. After the match is over, do I see a assault? I can see it because we haven't seen Wardlow in some time. I can see Wardlow potentially coming back to side with MJF for this little bit of time before he ultimately turns on MJF as well, because I don't think Wardlow's going to be just cool to be the right hand again of MJF as a lapdog. So, yeah, Adam Cole winning this, but I think a returning Wardlow's going to come in at the end of the match and probably beat up on Adam Cole, siding with MJF for a short stint. Mariah May going against Thunder Rosa for the AEW Women's World Championship in a Tijuana street fight. Mariah May. Mariah May is winning this. I think Thunder Rosa and Mariah May are going to have a good street fight match, but Mariah May is winning this. This is a short little program that Mariah and Thunder have been on, and I don't see Mariah May dropping this title just yet. Not to Thunder Rosa, and I respect Thunder Rosa, but not to Thunder right now. So Mariah is still keeping that title. Same thing with Konosuke Takeshita and Powerhouse Hobbs for the International Championship. Takeshita, he just got that belt, in October? I don't see him dropping it to Powerhouse Hobbs. I think they're going to have a good match. I think this will be a dark horse match, if I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think people are really going to look forward to this match until they see what Powerhouse Hobbs and Takeshita can do with one another. So I have this as a dark horse sleeper match that people should be sleeping on. But Takeshita, he's going to retain his title over Powerhouse Hobbs. I expect them to have a banger of a match, but Takeshita's keeping his belt. Mercedes Moné, Chris Statlander for the AEW TBS Championship. They had this match. This is a rematch following last month's Full Gear. If I'm going to be honest with it, I would want to see Mercedes win thanks to a new person coming in to be her backup, or some twins coming in to be like her edge heads, like Brian Myers and Kurt Hawkins was for Edge. Again, the rumors and speculations, people have been theorizing this for the last couple of months, that the Renegade Twins will be coming in to kind of be the flunkies for Mercedes, and I like that idea. Mercedes having her own group, I like that. So if they do that here against Chris Statlander, that'll be fun. So I want Mercedes to win. I want to see Chris Statlander try to move up into the AEW Women's World Championship. So that's my only reason why I don't want Chris Statlander to hold the TBS title. So I'm going to go with Mercedes Moné. Again, Chris needs to go to the Women's World title. She already had her time as TBS champion. It's time for you to go to the main belt for you. Main event, Fatal 4-Way for the AEW World Championship. Jon Moxley, Orange Cassidy, Hangman Page, Jay White. I have Moxley still retaining his championship. Again, I don't see Moxley dropping this just yet. The only person he should be dropping the title to is Darby Allin, in my personal opinion. Darby Allin is the guy that Jon Moxley is really focused on. He wants him to be the guy deep down in Jon Moxley's heart to take the title off of him. So I think this Fatal 4-Way match is going to be good. Let's not get it twisted. You have all the components there: Hangman, Jay White, Moxley, Orange Cassidy. All of it to be a hell of a main event for World's End. But Jon Moxley's retaining this, and we're building more up for Jon Moxley to go against Darby Allin. And eventually that's when Darby Allin's more likely going to take the title off of Mox. But at World's End, Moxley's retaining his championship. So with the AEW Worlds End predictions out of the way, I just want to go into a general recap of each company's my opinion on what they did this year. The goods and the bads. And when I say the bads, I'll say what I dislike, and I think how they can tweak that as they go into 2025. So again, this is just me saying criticism for quote unquote the bad stuff. But you know when it's good, it's good. So let me just go right off top. I'm going to go with TNA first because TNA, I really don't have too much to say about them in this department because TNA as a company, it's more of the, hey, come here. We're going to give you either if you're an established star, we're going to give you a freshen up so we can, one, get more eyes on the TNA product because we have you here now. Or two, we're going to get, the other wrestling companies to look at you as you're rebuilding your brand back up. That's for establishing stars that are coming to TNA. So that's one. Two, you got TNA literally being the hub for independent wrestlers that might not be under contract with any other company, but just to get a start to mainstream television, go to TNA, show what they can do, get a nice little program. And again, same thing like with the established star. If WWE or AEW wants to hire you, they can go and try to pick you from right there and go about your business. Or you can become a TNA guy and you literally be there week in, week out and start establishing yourself and becoming a legit bona fide TNA guy. So TNA, I don't really have too much to say, quote unquote, about. I do like what they did this year. Again, they rebranded themselves back to TNA away from Impact Wrestling, which I like the name TNA because I grew up on TNA before it turned to Impact. So them going back to TNA Wrestling was a great thing. I did like how, as I said, with the establishing stars coming in, I liked how they really worked with Mustafa Ali. Excuse me, saying his name right. Mustafa Ali going to TNA, it seemed like the right thing for him to do. It seemed right because he really got to work a character that he was going to do. And I feel that they were going to do down in NXT, but they got the wind of it and they just kind of yanked it from underneath him and released him last year. So with him going to TNA, Ali was able to do that politician gimmick in TNA, do it his way, show us what Ali can do as a character over there, and it was able to work. He held the X Division Championship, won his first night in the TNA banner, held that championship all the way through Slammiversary. Then he dropped it to Speedball Mike Bailey, which they had a great match there. And if you haven't seen it, I'm telling you now, seek it out to find it. It is a great match, legit. And I just feel again, what they did with Mustafa Ali over there in TNA, that's a good thing there. Same thing like with Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is a great shining beacon of what TNA can do and what TNA has been able to do for someone. Joe Hendry coming back to TNA, I want to say last year, but really this year, he was like the real centerpiece of TNA and getting like, I want to say eyes to the product. Because when that whole say his name stuff start popping up online and people start just playing his music just for memes and gifts, people had no idea either A, who Joe Hendry was, or either B, people knew who he was and people were trying to figure out why is Joe Hendry really like going viral. But Joe Hendry was able to make himself viral and go out there thanks to, once again, being on the TNA platform, because people don't know this. And again, he said this on the interview with Chris Van Vliet. Again, Chris Van Vliet, great interviewer. Joe Hendry mentioned how he had that song for a couple years as his entrance theme. Nothing really changed about it. It's just that TNA was able to help him spruce it up a little bit with the presentation, and that what made it catch fire. So again, TNA with Joe Hendry was a great addition to the TNA roster last year, but really spark it up this year. His business with AJ Francis, the whole first class business, their thing was great. Joe Hendry doing parodies on a lot of variety of various members on the TNA roster. Great thing to seek out this year as well. Joe Hendry being one of the guys to pop over from TNA to WWE NXT this year was a great thing. Same thing that I want to attach to Jordan Grace, the Zachary Wentz, and Trey Miguel, and Frankie Kazarian, Rosemary, and I'm probably forgetting somebody else, but You get my point. The TNA stars that were able to, oh yeah, Alexander Hammerstone, the TNA stars that were able to pop over from NXT when they had this collaboration during the summer and fall. TNA, again, that was on the good part of it because of, again, Jordynne Grace. How did I forget her? She was legit. That was the thing. TNA did good business right there with NXT WWE right there. So again, TNA had a lot of great things going with them. Their main event scene, you had Josh Alexander, Nick Nemeth, Moose. You had Steve Macklin, Eric Young, Joe Hendry, and Speedball Mike Bailey, the X Division stuff there, the tag team stuff, ABC. Oh yeah, by the way, get well soon, Chris Bay. We have not forgotten that over here. I hope that you are getting all the well rest that you need. Still, get well soon, Chris Bay. But ABC, the System, the Rascals, now the new team of Sinner and Saint. You're getting a lot of different varieties over there, and also the Knockouts division. They had Trinity before she went back to WWE and be rebranded again as Naomi. She was there in TNA, and she had a great run over there from the late 2023 over into early 2024. Then she had to pop over, passing the baton back to Jordynne Grace, and Jordynne Grace holding that TNA Knockouts championship almost all year until dropping it to Masha Slamovich, who Masha's going to be carrying that Knockouts championship torch and just trying to bring up the Knockouts division up to her. I mean, TNA had a great year personally in the wrestling standpoint and also in the storytelling standpoint. And also, again, I mentioned his name already, AJ Francis. AJ Francis, one of the guys who is really making sure to really get people to hate him on social media with some of his takes, but also whenever he's doing interviews, like what he did with Muscle Man Malcolm, he's just telling straight cold facts. He's honest with what he says, and if you don't like it, too bad, so sad, but sometimes you got to look at what the man is saying. His match with PCO at Slammiversary, it was a great match. Straight up, him and PCO tore it up at Slammiversary. Okay? I think AJ Francis and his whole Top Flight thing that he's doing, they should be anchored more in TNA. They should get more screen time. They should get some championships put on them because Top Flight is a great thing. And I can't wait to have Rich Swann back in TNA and do the whole Top Flight thing with AJ Francis and Casey Navarro, because then that would be one of trio of guys that are just able to just be obnoxious over there. But TNA had a lot of good moving parts this year. Now, the only thing I will say that is I'm not going to say a downside, but I will say criticism is, I want there to be more women in the Knockouts division. I want there to be more women. The men stuff, they're going to take care of that because I have a feeling that, again, with TNA and a lot of wrestling companies being male dominated, because you get a lot of male wrestlers in and a lot of female wrestlers, I want to see more females show up on TNA, whether they're independently signed or you got to borrow some from the WWE NXT pack over there to have them come over to TNA so they can get more in-ring experience. I want to see more females on TNA wrestling. I do. That's what I want to see. Because again, the men's department, they'll take care of that fine. But the women, they need to get more time. They need to get more screen time. They need to get more storyline time. They need to get more time. And there needs to be more females on that TNA roster. Me personally, that I see. That's just my own criticism. This year, it was great, but it was always like the same females constantly like featured on that TNA television. It was always Jordynne Grace. There was a time where it was Jordynne Grace, and that was basically it. Jordynne Grace would feud in with one person or another, but it was always like constantly Jordan. The TNA Knockouts tag team titles has been mainly held by Danny Luna and Jody Threat this year. I want to see more TNA Knockouts come in to take the titles off of them or just compete. You know what I mean? It's almost the same thing like they did with WWE, but I'll get to WWE with that too, because that's another thing I got with them. more specifically on the Raw brand, but I'll get more into that when I talk about WWE. But that's my only criticism that I technically have with TNA. Again, I want to see more females on there, whether they're signed to TNA or they bring them in for that one little weekend that they do the tapings for. Have more TNA knockouts on the screen. That's all I ask for. Variety. That's all. Now, moving off of TNA, I want to move over into AEW. Because AEW, I have a mixed bag. Because AEW did do some good things, and boy, did they have some criticism that I got to really throw out to them, okay? So I'd rather start with the good. The good is, obviously, the wrestling. It is called All Elite Wrestling. You know you're going to have elite wrestling straight up every month on their pay-per-views. Their pay-per-views, I will say, were not slacking except for, in my opinion, I feel that Forbidden Door this year was slacking. I feel that Forbidden Door this year was not the way in which Forbidden Door is supposed to be. And more than likely it's because AEW has legitimately the main stars of like New Japan on their freaking roster. So who can New Japan really send over to do a Forbidden Door that's worth something? Or now with them having CMLL, the same thing. It won't hit as well like a New Japan hit. So again, Forbidden Door for me this year, wasn't that it? But the main event was Swerve and Will Ospreay. The story that they did tell leading up to that main event, great. Big brother, little brother dynamic, I respect it. Great job that they did. Again, the wrestling year in, year out, cool. I like what they did with Sting. Straight up giving him his farewell in a area that means so much to Sting, that meant so much to him growing up in the wrestling world, in the WCW, Jim Crockett, WCW era in North Carolina. I'm glad that they were able to do that for him. Let him go out on top instead of him being defeated. I appreciate that, what they did for Sting there. I like the underdog story that they told basically all year round for Daniel Garcia, which for me, I feel, again, I will stand on this. Daniel Garcia should have won the TNT title at the beginning of the year at Revolution, but again, they told a story of an underdog who was constantly not going to be denied. I'm going after that title in all year. He was constantly just trying to get better and better. And what happened towards the end of the year, he ends up taking the TNT title. And at the end of the year, he is your TNT champion. So it was legit a whole story build combination with Daniel Garcia. I like what they did there. I like that they continued on the Swerve and Hangman business. Swerve and Hangman, they had a nice little thing going on at the beginning of the year where both of them wanted to become the AEW World Champion. They tried to cost one another said title, which screwed them in their triple threat match against Samoa Joe at Revolution. And then Hangman left. He had to go and take care of some business. And then guess what happened? Swerve becomes the guy. Swerve wins the world title. And then guess what? He gets that feeling himself. He has that match with Bryan Danielson where he could have slayed the dragon, but he didn't get that opportunity. Well, he didn't do that, if you will. And Bryan, we got a nice feel-good moment for Bryan at All In with his family, his friends and cohorts, ultimately before they turned on him the next pay-per-view. And speaking of that next pay-per-view, we got Hangman and Swerve at All Out. And they got to do their hardcore business like they can do. And we got that grueling image of Swerve with syringes in his mouth and Hangman just clocking him over the head with a chair. And that had the wrestling business legitimately booming and talking about it. So again, wrestling over there on the AEW front, it was great, in my personal opinion, all year round. And also, again, how can you forget the return of MJF and the return of Adam Cole and the way that they did it? More on the side of MJF, because MJF returned, got that big ovation, him paying tribute to Triple H at, I want to say, Double or Nothing, with his stuff, showing a tattoo that he's still standing there with AEW, even though I feel this is his last contract with AEW before he moves over to WWE, because MJF has also mentioned before in previous interviews that wrestlers have to move to different territories, like the old school wrestlers back in the day, so they can sharpen their skills. So I feel this will be his last contract with the AEW banner, and then he's going to move over to WWE. Again, that's just me. I don't think he's an AEW lifer like that, but I digress. Getting back to what I liked about AEW. A lot of things, again, wrestling-wise, great things that they did. The building up of superstars this year was great. The introduction of Will Ospreay to the AEW official roster as him being an official member of the AEW roster, a great thing. Will Ospreay's story from the beginning of the year all the way to now, great, straight up. Again, building of new upcoming stars you should keep your eyes on. Kyle Fletcher, the build up of him, great job of which they did with him. Takeshita, in my personal opinion, he should have been champion already at the beginning of the year, probably towards the middle, but hey, he's international champion now. Hey, as long as they got that done, cool. Tony Storm, the character of Tony Storm and Mariah May, that story was great. I mean, again, they did a lot of great things this year with AEW, but there is some criticism that I do have to give to them. The criticism that I have to give to him is the stopping or not finishing of stories that they have on their roster. Because here's my thing. AEW, they will do a story, right? They'll do a story or they'll tease a story and then they won't continue upon doing so. And here's an example I have for you. And that I didn't even remember until I read a tweet that someone had, and it made me remember it. Remember, I want to say as Private Party was trying to get the AEW World Tag Team titles, I want to say late August, early September. There was a thing with Stokely Hathaway was around ringside behind the barricade with the crowd, front row, sitting there just watching. And there was a vignette of him walking like into a building, like a little workplace, putting in a tape, watching something, but we never saw what he was watching. And then you see Stokely go over there and talk to Private Party and say something like, yo, they got more stock in Zay than they do Quinn. And saying that to Private Party's face and saying how you guys need to change something. Something around that variety of facts. And we never really got the follow through with Stokely. We never got the follow through with Stokely on that one. We never really got the follow through on Stokely with the Chris Statlander thing. Because Chris Statlander and Stokely turned on Willow. And yeah, cool. Statlander and Willow, they had their match at All Out. And that was supposed to be like the end of it. But we never got a traditional wrestling style of, yo, I want to break up with my manager or my manager has done me wrong type deal from Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway on AEW television. We never really got that. You know what I mean? So that was another one that I feel that they just dropped the ball on. Majorly, they dropped the ball for real to me on two things. One, I'm going to go at it because I feel passionate about this one. The freaking Undisputed Kingdom in MJF. And I don't put blame on MJF being hurt all this time. I'm going to say that when MJF came back, it was supposed to be Undisputed Kingdom going after MJF. Undisputed Kingdom was supposed to go after MJF after they brainbustered Adam Cole on the mat. They could have gave MJF a reprieve. Because remember, MJF was doing the whole good guy shtick. They could have gave him a reprieve and say, hey, we didn't get you whenever you went after Adam that night because we were too busy tending to Roddy. But once we saw that footage, we were pissed and watch your back, MJF. When you least suspect it, we're going to attack you. Once MJF got done with his match, and this is just me throwing out an idea here, with his match with Hetrozero at Forbidden Door, you could have had Roddy, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, because I don't know if Wardlow was injured at this time or not. You could have those three guys come out and attack MJF and start putting the boots to him. And from then on, MJF could have started soughting after those guys. And in that timing, he could have gotten the help of a Daniel Garcia, gotten the help of a Will Ospreay to help him take care of the Undisputed Kingdom in that business, which you still could have rewrote to have MJF still turn his back on a Daniel Garcia and Will Ospreay with that type of business. Still could have did it, but the use of the Undisputed Kingdom was not to their full advantage this year, especially with them with MJF. And I'm talking about after MJF was back on your television screens, ready to wrestle. They should have did something with that there. And also, before MJF came back. Because, again, before MJF came back at the beginning of the year, we had Wardlow, who wasn't injured. You had Roddy, who was cool. You had Taven, who was great. You had Bennett, who was good. Adam Cole, yeah, he couldn't be there all the time. But they were technically the big bads of AEW. And what was the super group that was supposed to go against the Undisputed Kingdom? It was supposed to be the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. It was supposed to be the Bang Bang Gang and the Acclaim that clicked up to go against the Undisputed Kingdom. That was supposed to be the thing, but that quickly got dropped. I wish that they would have followed through on that one to see how that would have worked. I think that we could have found some other guys to be under the Undisputed Kingdom. You mean to tell me Tony Khan couldn't have thrown a couple dollars to Bobby Fish to have him come back and do something there? Have him work with Roddy and Taven and Bennett? No. You mean to tell me that until Kyle got back? Especially with them knowing Kyle was going to come back? You could have done something there while all of them were just basically a band of guys that are there for Adam Cole. You could have did it, but they didn't do that. So that's one story that I feel that they dropped completely, like dropped the ball. Another story, which is real obvious to everyone that I've seen people complain about, or not even may say complain, but make notice about the Elite trying to take over AEW, and that whole botched of a story right there with them, where the Young Bucks brought back in Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, and Okada, where those four guys were supposed to take over AEW and blah, blah, blah. That went down in flames because nothing got handled there. Nothing got situated there. Yes, you hit a Meltzer driver on Tony Khan. Yes, we got Tony Khan with the exposure of wearing a neck brace on draft day. And you have a little bit of people talk about that online. Yeah, cool. But what did it do for you in story purposes? What did it do? It did absolutely jack diddle. It did jack dick, to be honest. Nothing. I wish that they would have thought more hard about that. I wish that they would have did something other than that. And I understand, again, when you have a group that's trying to take over a company, you could have did it. It would have been more effective. And I know a lot of people have said it before. If Tony Khan was not there, making the decision, it was literally the Young Bucks running the show because they are EVPs. Don't have a liaison for Tony Khan. No. The Young Bucks run the show, all that stuff. Hell, we could have had Tony Khan knocked into a coma if that's where you want to go with that. Still him not show up on draft day, but him getting the calls, doing it at his home offices and all that type of deal. Again, you still could have played it up to kayfabe character-wise, but you get my point. The Young Bucks, they could have ran AEW storyline-wise, and we could have saw what type of chaos they would have did, type of stories or situations they could have done to make different roster members' lives hell. That's just that. But again, that story just got botched completely and it got dropped. So again, I want AEW to tighten up on their stories as they head into 2025, fix up the mistakes that they had here, and again, tighten up on the stories there. And also another complaint that I have or criticism that I have for AEW is bring in more tag teams, or shall I say, make tag team wrestling feel important to your brand again. You have the singles wrestlers on lock. You got that done. You got that situated done. I want to see more tag team wrestling and I'll say it again, and trios wrestling be essential to your product. Because again, you guys had that situation on lock in 2019 when you guys debuted. You guys had a tag team division on lock. Tag team wrestling felt important. Same thing in 2020. Even though there was a pandemic, hell, 2020 tag team wrestling over there, you guys still had that mother lover on lock. You had that together. 2021, same thing. You started added trio stuff and tag team stuff into your repertoire. Still in that, you still had it on lock. Shall I go on? This year, it didn't feel important. It didn't feel that way, and I don't understand why. As a fan of tag team wrestling, which is basically chaos, why are you not able to get that under wrap in 2024? In 2025, I want to see you guys get back on your A game. You guys have a great roster of tag team wrestlers. Shall I name off the tag team teams that you got? Yeah, sure. Private Party, FTR, The Outrunners, Top Flight, Leo Rush, and Action Andretti. You got GYV. You still have the Dark Order, by the way, Alex Reynolds and John Silver, who, by the way, you still have good faith in me as a fan to do something with those two that you guys, again, dropped the ball in 2022 to do something with those guys. In Dark Order specifically, you dropped the ball in, but you have a way to revitalize that, get the GIF, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, revitalize, make them do a promo with FTR or a thing with them and have FTR be the bad guys. I'm giving you a free story right here. A free one. FTR turn bad again. Have them go after Reynolds and Silver and make people care for Reynolds and Silver to the point that Reynolds and Silver in 2025 win the tag team gold. There you go. That's how you rehab that. But do that. You have a lot of other different tag teams on your roster that it doesn't seem that way. Oh yeah, the Young Bucks. Come on, what are we doing? As a company that stands on tag team wrestling, which was a premise when you guys had that press conference in 2019, you have legit one of the best tag team wrestlers, tag teams of the last, 10 years on your roster, being your EVPs, the Young Bucks. Why are we not making tag team wrestling a important thing for us? Why are we not making trios wrestling, which again, you're just adding one more person to the equation on each side? Why are we not making that an important thing anymore? Make that important. Make that a thing. That's all I'm asking for 2025. Get it together. Tighten it up. Make tag team wrestling and trios wrestling important. I have faith that you'll do stuff with the women's stuff because Toni Storm and Mariah May and the builder that you guys had with that have a lot of faith in them for what you guys can do for the women thing. So I'm not going to get at y'all for that. If you guys suck in 2025, I'm going to let you know week by week that you suck. And then in recap, I'm going to let you know that you suck then. But again, I have faith. I've seen a lot of people discredit it because of the whole Mercedes thing, because Mercedes hasn't done much for the TBS Championship. I digress on that because the TBS title has always been a catch 50-50 type deal, even when Jade Cargill was holding it. But you guys know what you're doing with the females stuff. You guys know how to do a story with the important ones that you want to do something with, but more importantly, tag team wrestling. Get it together, get that back on track, and get trios wrestling as well back on track and make those two things dominant to your product. Because again, singles, you guys got on lock. The women's stuff, you guys got together. The tag team and the trios, make those two things, again, feel important to your company. So that's just my criticism that I have for that. And also, here's a backstage criticism that I have for you. I don't know who is leaking certain things. I don't know what type of stories are being perpetuated and thought of, but if someone is unhappy in your company, I don't need to read about it or have people really discuss that because of somebody leaking something out there to the people. I don't. I rather you guys do what companies do. If someone is not happy, guess what? You talk to them. You say, A, we can do this for you. Either A, we can put you on television, use you until your contract runs out. You'll be putting guys over. And then once your contract's done, you're done. Or either B, we're going to have you sit at home and you're going to say absolutely nothing. No, you're not doing in-ring stuff. You're not doing independent stuff. You're going to be sitting at home freezing. And I'm just going to let you guys know up front, this is what's going to happen to you until your contract runs out. That's all. Because if they're doing independent date, because this is what's shooting you in the foot as well. If they're doing independent date, it gives them more opportunity to say what's going on. Or they'll say it coy about what's going on with them not being on television. That's all I'm saying. Because if Ricky Starks was petty right now, the way that certain people say he should be petty, my man is about to go off on a great style of rant at the upcoming show that he got at House of Glory, which I hope he doesn't do that because I think Ricky knows how to keep it professional. But again, I think personally, if he was a petty man, he could do so, and everybody will be clipping it because everyone can't wait to hear what Ricky Starks has to say about what's really going on, especially with we not knowing what happened with him in GCW and you in AEW. We have no idea with that. So again, let your talent know if they're unhappy, and you know they're unhappy. Tell them about what their options. Either A, we'll use you. You'll constantly put people over. You're going to constantly lose, but you'll get paid, and there you go until your contract runs out. Or either B, we're going to sit you home, ice you out. You can go to the gym, do what you want, but you will not be doing no independent dates until your contract's up. Let them know that, because AEW, it seems that they're not going to let you go at all. Let's just keep it a buck. So I'm working with what we've seen right now, because we haven't seen Miro. He's not on television, and he hasn't worked no independent date that I do know of. And it's been rumored and speculated that he's not happy. So, wham. Ricky Starks. Obviously, I don't need to go into much of that, but you get my point. Wham. Ray Phoenix. Ray Phoenix. Wham. Should I need to go on? I think that's the only 3 right now that's coming to my mind. I'm pretty sure there's more, but you get my point. Talk to the talent that's unhappy and just let them know what's going to happen to them, okay? Now, with that, that is my AEW recap. Now over to WWE. Now, here's how I'm going to break this down. I'm going to go break it down. Developmental and main roster. Developmental, I say, out of everybody in this whole wrestling thing that I talk about, NXT, when you look at it across the board, they nail every single thing that you want. They give you your main events. They give you stuff for the mid-card titles. They give you stuff that has nothing to do with the championships at all. They give you the tag team stuff, and they give you the women's. Dog, NXT, I don't care what no one says. They are legit the A structure and what you will want in wrestling. Because when you look at what NXT is, it is WWE's developmental. Do you hear what I said? It is their developmental brand, but they're still able to hit things that need to be hit. The way that, for some reason, the main roster can't do, and sometimes AEW and TNA can't do, but almost on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, NXT is able to hit those facets every single week. So NXT, I really have no type of criticism to give them. I just have nothing but applause to them, because again, they do everything right that you're supposed to do right in professional wrestling. And again, I don't know if it's because they work with the CW now, but when they were on USA, they were still able to get the job done over there. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on, but I think people need to put more respect on NXT's name and really look at how they build a story, build a show around. And I think more wrestling programs need to do that and just tweak the playbook just a little to fit what they want to do. But just look at NXT. They do everything that you would want them to do in a wrestling company. So again, all kudos to WWE NXT, especially with, again, them having their little deal that they did with TNA in the summer and fall. I love that. You gave the world an opportunity, if they weren't watching TNA, the shot to look at Jordan Grace, to put her on a stage. You gave Joe Hendry a bigger stage because he was getting white hot on viral, the internet sensation. So again, give him the stage over there. You gave Zachary Wentz his redemption arc legitimately to go back to NXT and reunite with Wesley, do their little business, to even feud with one another. And you had Trey Miguel get a little taste of the NXT light as well. So again, I like what NXT was able to do. So again, NXT is nothing but applause from me. Nothing bad I gotta say about them at all. No criticism I gotta give them. Continue doing what you're doing. Going into 2025, man. Do not drop the ball. Do not change anything that you guys are doing. Continue on this momentum. That's all I gotta say for you guys over there in NXT. Congrats. WWE main roster. I would say they were hitting it out the park too. I would say with the stories that they're telling, great job, especially as we all know, the Cody story, finally being able to finish the story, getting a nice moment at WrestleMania. But boy, was that build-up crazy. That build-up was crazy because we had no idea what was going on when The Rock got introduced into the function and Cody relinquishing the shot, and then him saying this is BS at the press conference, and then we had this whole jumble of, yo, what are they doing? Which led us to getting the final boss and Rock just going stupid with the character, which is, again, one of the best characters that Rock has done, just being dummy with it. To get in the tag matchup at WrestleMania. CM Punk getting injured, Royal Rumble, which we were supposed to have CM Punk versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania for the World Championship, which has been confirmed, and we knew that even at the time. But him being injured, it gave us the birth of Drew McIntyre, the biggest hater or just guy that just oozes truth, but just seems like a dick when he says this stuff. We got that from CM Punk being injured, but we got CM Punk just being a complete total dick back to Drew McIntyre throughout this whole year as well, which culminated to those two guys having 3 matches, which I felt were good matches altogether. SummerSlam had a great match. The strap match I felt was great. Hell in a Cell, bloodied in a mug, but God bless it, that's the way it's supposed to be, and that was great too. The story of Gunther going into Mania, historic title reign, losing it to Sami Zayn. I'm gonna get back to that in a minute too on something. Even the debut of Jade Cargill and having the big 3 with them, Jade Cargill, Naomi, Bianca, their little sisterhood that we got to see on television, it was nice for it to be birthed there and get to see that. We got to see the face-off of Bianca and Jade at, the Royal Rumble, which is probably going to happen again. Nia Jax getting her redemption story. For people that don't know, Nia Jax, in her first run of WWE before she was released, she was touted as a woman that would injure people. That was her reputation. But since she's came back, she's been putting on good matches, and people have been saying this is her best run. This is her run that's went way better than her first one, and I got to commend it. Yes, her match with Bayley at SummerSlam was what it was supposed to be. Her doing what she's supposed to do, just being a dominant brute. And I love that they do that for Nia. So again, there you got that. The birth of Tiffany Stratton on the debut main roster. People loving Tiffany. Tiffy time being way over. Chelsea Green and her character expression. I mean, dog, do we got to say more? The betrayal of Dominic to Liv Morgan from to move away from Rhea to be with Liv. That was a thing. I mean, the stories that they were telling on WWE was a great thing, so I have nothing wrong with that. And also the New Day, the story that they're still continuing on with the New Day now. New Day talking foul, which in the eyes of truth, when you look at Kofi and Wood's side, they're telling nothing but the truth, but they're just saying it again, a dick-headed type way to their brother E. God, the story of that, and we got to see how that's going to go. That story right there is just great. WWE on storyline main fronts have been hitting it out the park. Wrestling is good. Cool, because you know what wrestling is for WWE's. I'm not going to look for them to do New Japan, all elite type of wrestling like that. No, they're going to give you wrestling the way that they're supposed to do it, the way that they do it. So I'm not going to criticize them too much on that. It's WWE. They're the monopoly. They know what it is over there. So I'm not going to do that. But also with story, I got to do it because it's on the top of my head. Solo Sikoa and his character reemergence or being re-imaged of taking over the bloodline, the debuting of Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu, who's going to have a baller of a year in 2025, in my opinion. Tonga Loa being back into WWE. Now this is his second run. All that stuff, dude. The stories, again, WWE, great job this year. Staging wise, all the production stuff, they don't need to change nothing about that. They need to continue on doing their production the way that they've been doing it. The one criticism that I do have for them on the Raw side, I would like for them to really experiment more with females on their side. because this year on the Raw side, to me, and I've seen it a lot too, Rhea Ripley was the more pronounced woman on their television screen, just like Jordynne Grace was in TNA. But with TNA, with Jordynne Grace, they put different women in front of Jordynne Grace, and Jordynne Grace had to figure out how to deal with the women that were in front of her. But with Rhea Ripley, at the beginning of the year, it seemed that way because she dealt with Nia at Elimination Chamber at Australia. Then Becky at, WrestleMania. And then nothing at Backlash for Rhea. And then she got injured, had to drop the title, and then that's when Liv ends up winning the title. And then it's just been nothing but Rhea and Liv constantly from, I want to say, July to now. And that's been like the women thing for WWE Raw. While on SmackDown, it's been a variety. The women have been circulating in and out of that. So again, more on the Raw side, I like them to really experiment with the women for the women's world title, even though they already introduced the Intercontinental title, which should rotate that as well. But for the Raw women's side, I like them to rotate women circulating in and out of that women's world title picture. Do something with that, okay? That's my criticism that I have for Raw for WWE's main roster thing. Again, the men's stuff, cool. Another criticism, and again, this one I'm going to say is for both Raw and SmackDown. Same thing I got on AEW for, I'm going to get on you guys for. The tag team division. Start figuring out your tag team division. I know SmackDown, they kind of got some tag teams on lock with A-Town Down Under, Pretty Deadly, Motor City Machine Guns, Street Profits, Circa, go on. But Raw, those Raw tag team titles were not moving around that much. Again, they were not being defended as much. They were not being looked at that much. From Mania to now, it wasn't. I need those titles. I need that tag team division over there to be circulating in and out the same way that I said with the women. Get it together. Tag team division, get it together. I need to see it on Raw side. More importantly, but on SmackDown, you guys ain't getting away with it neither. Start working your tag teams too. Get stuff together in that line as well. Again, you guys got a great tag division over there. Start getting that crap together over there as well. I know you guys are way better than what they're doing on Raw, but start getting it together. Work in, work out, get it done. Is there any other criticism that I have now? Oh, I almost forgot this one. I said I was going to get back to it, and here it is. I want you guys to find something to do with Chad Gable. Chad Gable is a guy that this year should have been his year. This year, you guys legitimately teased the devil out of the fans with saying you guys are going to do something big with Chad Gable. You guys did. From his stuff that he did with Gunther, I want to say last year, towards the end of 2023, with stuff that he did with Gunther, to the stuff this year, again, him and Gunther, to him training Sami Zayn to help Sami take the title off of Gunther at Mania, to him getting frustrated with Sami, to ultimately him and Otis having business that never got resolved. Find something to do with Chad Gable. Also, find something to do with Finn Balor as well. Those two guys, I feel, have been really teased the devil out of in 2023 and 2024. I do. I think those two guys need to be singles champions in 2025. If you do not have Finn Balor as a world champion in 2025, I want Finn Balor to go over to AEW. And if you don't have Chad Gable as an Intercontinental Champion in 2025, or a U.S. Champion, some type of singles champion that makes sense and it actually gives Chad Gable some credibility, I want Chad Gable to move over to a different wrestling organization. I do. Because those two guys have been dealt a bad hand, and I don't understand why it hasn't been fixed yet. I don't. Because I don't know why you guys teased us with the thought that Chad Gable was going to win that Intercontinental title, only for him not to take it off of Sami Zayn. And you teased us with the Otis deal, like he was going to have a match with Otis, but you never did that with Otis. I don't understand what's up with that. You guys got to fix that. And same thing with Balor. He should have been world champion by last year or this year, and it hasn't got it done. Again, get that together. Seriously, because if not, I want those two guys to really just go off and try to go off to a different wrestling company to be the stars that they know they can be and should be. So, I believe that's all the criticism I truly have for WWE. But again, when you look at the criticism compared to the goodness of it, I say that everyone came out great this year in 2024. Still, take those criticism in, do what you need to do with them, and just take them into 2025 and continue making the best product for yourself and also for the fans so they can continuously enjoy all your wrestling products. So that's my giving praise and criticism to all the wrestling companies that I did watch this year from TNA, AEW, and WWE. So now with that said, it's now time for me to move on to my wrestling awards that I do give out every single year starting in 2021. So first and foremost, I want to start off with Wrestler of the Year. And for WWE's promotion, the Wrestler of the Year to me is Cody Rhodes. And for AEW, it is Will Ospreay. Now, Wrestler of the Year is just a wrestler that has great matches in the ring. This isn't character work. No, that's for a different thing. This is a wrestler that has great matches in the ring and it makes you feel something. Will Ospreay doesn't need to be said. You know what time it is when you get a Will Ospreay match on those big stages. You know what time it is. Cody Rhodes, this year, he had a great year when this was big time matches up there. Again, going back to his WrestleMania stuff that he had, moving over to him defending the title in these big situations. Cody was doing what he had to do, and Cody has been the face of the company straight up. So, Will Ospreay and Cody Rhodes, there, I don't think that's no competing against that. Female of the Year for WWE is Roxanne Perez, while AEW is Toni Storm. Again, Roxanne Perez over down there in NXT, she was killing it down there. Always in the ring, doing her ring work, competing off against different individuals, not the same people. It was great. And going into 2025, I see Roxanne Perez killing it down there more before she moves over to the main roster. Toni Storm over there in AEW, her timeless Toni Storm gimmick, boy oh boy, that was great what she did in the ring, and she made people care about Toni Storm, especially her and Mariah May's build up to their match at All In as well. So again, Toni Storm, timeless Toni Storm, I like that, and that's why she's my female wrestler of the year for AEW. Tag team of the year for AEW, it was the Young Bucks, and for WWE, it was Nathan Frazier and Axiom. AEW, as I said, wasn't really predominantly dominated by tag team wrestling this year, so I had to go with the Young Bucks because of what they were able to do this year. They held on to the tag team titles for a good bit. They had a great match with Darby and Sting on Sting's last professional wrestling match. It had AEW Revolution, and again, tag team wrestling again wasn't the main focus, but the Young Bucks, I at least can say, they put on some great tag matches this year. Nathan Frazier and Axiom, boy oh boy, did they tear it up down there in NXT. NXT has a weird way of putting two singles guys together as a team and making it work. Look at some of their past guys that they put together and it just straight up worked. FTR, they were not a tag team together. When you look back at history, they were two singles guys that got put together. So let that make reference to that. Same thing with DIY. Ciampa and Gargano, they were two singles guys. Then they got put together as a tag team. So same thing with Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker, who are a great small stint tag team of the Wolf Dogs that happened earlier this year. But Nathan Frazier and Axiom, they were just able just to be this generation, I feel, Paul London and Brian Kendrick, two singles guys that came together, they can move fast paced, that are just completely able to do what needs to be done in that ring and like gravitate and make you just see what they're doing and just see how fast they're going. You're like, yo, what is going on? But they were able to kill it in the ring and have great tag matches with a lot of different tag teams this year. So yeah, they're my tag team lead for WWE. Nathan Frazier and Axiom. Match of the year, it is for WWE, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, WrestleMania Night 2. And AEW, it is Will Ospreay, Konosuke Takeshita for AEW Revolution. I think under the WWE banner, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns will win this, or did win this for me because of the story. Cody Rhodes, again, the story of what they were doing with Cody for the last, 2 years since he came back to the company. We as fans expecting him to win the title last year, only to get legit cock blocked at Mania last year, and everybody just about almost catching a hissy fit, saying, "Yo, what are y'all doing? That was a crazy dumb decision." What? Only for it to come around this year, get bigger, and the chaos around that match and in that match got better, and Cody finally capturing the title at WrestleMania 40. It was great. So that's the reason why that's my match of the year for WWE. It could have been CM Punk and Drew McIntyre with their Hell in a Cell blood match, but again, the story of Cody and Roman was just that beat that. I'm sorry. AEW, Will Ospreay, Konosuke Takeshita. Will Ospreay just coming into AEW as a full roster AEW guy. This is like his first pay-per-view under their banner as a guy there. And this is his like full come out party. Like, oh, you guys are going to see everything of what I can do over here now that I'm over here in AEW. And he got to do it against Konosuke Takeshita, a guy that had a great 2023 coming out of that, beating Kenny Omega twice, where we should have saw him win a championship towards the end of 2023 or going into 2024. It didn't happen. And this felt like, okay, you guys are playing with Konosuke Takeshita. Takeshita is going to show you why he should be a champion. So Will Ospreay and Takeshita, in my opinion, they just went out there and just start hitting one another, just going straight balls to the walls with one another in a Japan style match in front of the world. And again, this was a great introduction for AEW under Will Ospreay under the AEW banner as a full-time member. So I like that. And Takeshita, again, just another shining beacon of, yo, push this man. It's time. Give him a championship. Put some freaking respect on this man name and do something with him. So that's my match of the year. It could have been Swerve and Bryan at All In. It could have been Swerve and Hangman at All Out. It could have been Will Ospreay and MJF at their Dynamite matchup that they had, I believe, for the 250th episode of Dynamite. Or it could have been Will Ospreay and MJF at All In. It could have been Tyler Storm and Mariah May at All In. Again, they had great matches this year. Like, they were no slim pickings. But for me, Will Ospreay and Takeshita, that one just stayed with me all year, and I couldn't let that one go. So that's the reason why I have that in my match of the year. Pay-per-view of the year for WWE is WrestleMania Night 2. While AEW is All In. Night 2 WrestleMania, you had everything in there. Start the night off with Seth and Drew McIntyre, CM Punk on commentary. Drew wins the title, gets this moment that he didn't get in 2020, but that moment got cut short of his own vindictiveness, just being a complete dick to CM Punk, and Punk being okay, cool, you poked the bear too much, now it's time for the bear to attack moment. Beat up Drew McIntyre, which led to Damian Priest coming out there to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase and become a world champion. So it was a good moment for Priest to have that moment there. And Drew, he got to say he did get to win a title in front of the people. So you got to kill two birds with one stone, and also, three birds, with Punk getting a little bit of physical at Mania. So 3 birds, 1 stone. As I said, Cody got to finish his story at the end of the night. So again, how could you hate that? You got to have Bayley win the women's championship. You got to see Logan Paul have a good triple threat match with KO and Randy Orton. You even got to see Twitch streamers iShow Speed get RKO'd as well on that freaking show. So I mean, WrestleMania was WWE's the reason why you have wrestling and entertainment in that product name. So Night 2 was the show of the year for me. Even though Backlash, I will give a great shout out to them. Backlash, that French crowd, they did make that event feel important, and it carried the tone for all international pay-per-view crowds of how you're supposed to do it. So again, a nice little shout out to the Backlash French crowd as well. But WrestleMania Night 2 had to be the pay-per-view for me over there in WWE, while All In was in England again this year. And again, that match card was great. I already listed up Will Ospreay, MJF. They had a great matchup over there. Toni Storm and Mariah May. Great matchup there, which had blood in that, which needed to be blood because of their feud that they had right there. You had Swerve and Bryan, which was career versus title, which we all were like, oh snap, they're really going to have Swerve put it into Bryan and let Bryan get this send off to the people in front of everybody. But no, Bryan wins and he got this nice little moment with his family that he didn't technically get to do at Mania with his wife in the ring with him. His kids wasn't born yet at Mania when he got to do it at WrestleMania 30. So for him to do this a decade later, it was just so great to do with his wife and kids and friends in this ring. So that was great for him there. And also that other matches on that card too was not triple threat, but the Trios Championship being defended in a ladder match to start to show off the return of Nigel McGuinness in a ring in that Casino Gauntlet. The debut of Ricochet under AEW. I mean, All In was a good show. Completely. That's why it was my pay-per-view of the year for AEW. Total package. Now, this is where we get descriptive here. Total package is a person's whole character, a whole person's dynamic, how they look. From their promo to their in-ring style to how they dress or their appearance-wise, that's what the total package is to me. So the total package for this year, Swerve Strickland over there in AEW and Obafemi in WWE. Swerve Strickland, I don't think you need to say much about, because if you watch his ascendance from late last year, 2023, going into this year, you kind of knew that he had everything. He had the swag of his aura, which he walked out, had the fans doing the Who's House, Swerve's House, with the Prince Nana being accompanied him by. The gear of which he wore, which was sick. His in-ring ability is nasty. The promo ability that Swerve got, it made you really look at him as, okay, it's time for him to be a main event type guy. For this year, for Swerve, everything lined up for him for whenever he took that world title off of Joe. Everybody was happy because everybody knew at Dynasty it was his time. So again, Swerve being the whole total package for AEW this year, it just was the right timing for him. So that's the reason why he's the total package. I'm giving him the total package award there. Obafemi, a guy that came into WWE's developmental system in, I want to say summer of 2022, because I remember he went against my man, Oro Mensah. And then he went away for a good distant minute. And I was like, yo, whether that was, I want to say late 2022 or probably early 2023, one of the two. This is before Oro Mensah was in Metaphor. So that had to be late 2022. Well, middle 2022, because Oro got into Metaphor in 2023. Nevertheless, Obafemi just came into NXT 2022, won the Breakout Tournament 2023, wins the North American Championship, but this year it felt like he really came into his own. He really built himself out from the way that he dressed himself, from the way that he talked in a promo-wise, from the way that the crowd got with him doing the ooh after every time he just enunciate instead of sentence. They just constantly did that to him after that, to the way that he was dominating in the ring. The whole total thing fit for Obafemi. So Obafemi is that's the reason why I gave him the total package of what you would want in someone like that. So Obafemi, he got that. I'm going to go with character of the year. Character of the year is pretty simple. Their character that they portray on television. Duh. For WWE, it was Jey Uso, and for AEW, Hangman Page. Jey Uso was the character for WWE because every time he came out there, the fans was ready to yeet with him. That's a catchphrase that literally is with the character of Jey Uso. You can't see Jey Uso and not say yeet. You can't see him and not do the yeet with him. Hell, to the point that after it wasn't Bash in Berlin. I want to say it was the last one that they just did at Saudi Arabia, their last pay-per-view, the Raw that they did after that. He was the guy to send the people home happy, and they showed a video on YouTube of him being out there, and he had to do the yeet for a good solid culmination together. I want to say 5-6 minutes. So again, the people love Jey Uso. The character of Jey Uso went through a lot this year. Earlier this year, he was feuding with his brother, and the crowd still loved him there. The crowd brought in the Fireflies to Jey Uso going into Backlash and he ended up giving away the Fireflies over to the Wyatt Six because they came back, and it was a funny way to really do it. Even his backstage promo, the way that he talked about it, to him winning the Intercontinental Championship, getting that nice little moment for himself, to ultimately him and Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso and Sammy having their nice little reconnection moment. Jey Uso is the character of the year for WWE. His character went through a lot this year, from having a low down situation at the beginning of the year to him getting perked up to being a top upper middle card to lower tier main event guy. To, I want to say in 2025 they're going to make him a main event, true bona fide main event guy, whether it be on Raw or SmackDown. It's coming for Jey Uso in 2025. So the character that he went through, it went through a roller coaster, but it was not too much of a bad roller coaster, but I want to say a good roller coaster for Jey Uso, the character. Heyman Page, that roller coaster, boy oh boy, his roller coaster was different. Beginning of the year, feuding with Swerve, the character was pissed off at Swerve because Swerve got the better of him in 2023, trying to right that wrong, trying to make sure Swerve couldn't get the title at the beginning of the year, which he did make sure of that until he had to step away, and then that went over to Swerve, got the title, and then what did Heyman do when he came back? Try to make Swerve's life a living hell and make sure he did not walk out with that world title any chance that he got. Ultimately, even coming out during his match against Bryan at All In, and being a little nugget, a reason why Swerve didn't retain his title there, to them having the match at All Out, but the story leading up to All Out, him burning Swerve's home and making Swerve feel that pain, the same pain that Heyman felt last year with Swerve breaking into his home. Heyman beating up Swerve to the point that at the end of the match, after he caved into Swerve's head with a chair and he's already walked up the ramp, you can see the inner turmoil that is in him, and he's about to walk back to the ring, but he doesn't, and he stops, and then he walks back up, and he lets out this guttural yell of just anger. The character Heyman has been on a ride this year, so again, that's the reason why I'm giving him the character of the year for AEW. Most likely to have a great 2025. Now, this award usually goes to the people that didn't get a lot of screen time on television, that is more likely going to have a great amount of screen time next year, and they probably will be propped up into some type of program or something next year, and they really will be heavily featured. Usually I give it away to someone that doesn't get a lot of screen time, but I have to tweak it this year because AEW, I'm giving it off to the Hurt Syndicate, and for WWE, I'm giving it off to all of NXT, just the NXT brand itself. Now, the Hurt Syndicate, they just came into AEW, early October, right? They just got there. Of course, they're getting screen time, but I feel that as 2025 is coming, you're going to have more people join the Hurt Syndicate, right? You're going to have, I have a feeling you still can get Ricochet in there. You can get a Leo Rush in there. You can get a Mercedes, or you can get some other female talent in there to be with the Hurt Syndicate. I feel that Hurt Syndicate could be a group that just establishes dominance and be stylish with it by doing it. But I feel that they're going to have a great 2025, okay? Now, over there in WWE, I say all of NXT instead of one particular person because NXT, as I said in my review, they've been killing it on all cylinders. In NXT, it is literally a revolving door of people constantly getting opportunities and making sure they're on television and doing something. For prime example, Lexis King. Lexis King was on television a good portion of this year, I want to say. But then there was a time whenever he wasn't on there, he just wasn't on there, and then he had to do vignettes and promos, and then he gets popped back up in there, and now he's doing something again. Eddie Thorpe, a guy that wasn't on television for a good minute because he was injured, and then he got off of injury, and then they were doing nothing with him. Then he goes back to being on TV. He has a little matches here and there, doing nothing, and now he's in this big thing right now where he's outwitting Ava and getting shots at the NXT championships that he doesn't really deserve. Like I said, NXT is a revolving door of people that you don't see on television. They get popped back on TV. And NXT, as I said before in recap, they're nailing it on all cylinders that whenever they do it, it makes sense, right? So that's the reason why I gave it to all NXT. Everybody in there is getting a shot at being on television and learning in front of people at real time. So that's the reason why I'm giving it all NXT. And I feel that the NXT brand is going to have a bigger impact going into 2025 and just capitalize on what they did in 2024. I could have given it to someone like a Jacob Fatu, a Dakota Kai, or someone else, but nah. NXT, the brand itself, is going to have a great 2025. Even though Jacob Fatu, that guy is a complete hybrid. And boy, is 2025 going to have a hard time with Jacob Fatu. And also Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed was kicking up in the summer towards the end of 2024. That man was killing it. But he got injured. And again, I think in 2025, when he comes back, they should do something great with him as well. So, again, those are just little nuggets I do have to point out there. Dakota Kai, she came back. She's in the Intercontinental Women's Tournament. I have a feeling they're going to do something with her in 2025. But NXT, the brand, they're going to get it because they've been killing it in all of 2024 going into 2025. That's the reason why I'm giving it off to them. So, now, with those awards having given out, it is now time for me to move on and close out the show. I would like to thank everyone that downloaded the show, everyone that's been rocking with Wrestling Highlights of the Week this whole entire year. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. I hope you guys will be back tomorrow, more than likely, maybe when I drop the AEW Worlds End review. If it's not up tomorrow, it'll be up on a Monday. Okay? So expect that episode to drop either tomorrow or Monday. But I hope you guys will be back with me whenever I come back again with the Wrestling Highlights of the Week for you guys next Saturday. But if you don't, hey, I appreciate you guys for being with me on this 2024 with this specific program. I do appreciate everybody. But it is now time for me to bid you guys adieu. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday. I will be back tomorrow again where I give a recap of everything that happened in the world of 2024, the big major new stories that I do talk about. So that's when on the venture tomorrow for Sunday. So with that said, I love everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Be blessed. Bye-bye now.